Welcome to Natural Habitat Adventures Daily Dose of Nature. Today's presentation, Bengal Tigers and Beyond, the new Grand India Photo Expedition, is brought to you by NatHab Expedition Leader Aditya Panda. Aditya is an award-winning naturalist, wildlife conservationist, and photographer from Odisha, India, whose passion for nature was sparked by his grandfather's jungle tales. With more than 2 decades of experience, he's dedicated his career to protecting tiger and elephant habitats while serving as honorary wildlife warden at Satkosia Tiger Reserve and working closely with government officials and local communities. As a NatHab expedition leader and accomplished wildlife photographer, Aditya brings both conservation expertise and a storyteller's gift for helping guests discover the incredible challenges and wonders of India's wildest places. And he's also one of our best webinar hosts, and we're always excited to have him here. Aditya, good to see you again, my friend. The show is yours.
Thank you, Rob. And hello, everyone. It's been a while since I last presented, and that's because the safari season in India has begun, and I've been busy tracking tigers and other beautiful creatures. And this beautiful male tiger that you see on your screen was just, I think, about 10 days ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, on the first Grand India Wildlife Expedition that I led this season. Now, all of you are familiar with the Grand India Wildlife Adventure, and today I'm going to talk about a brand new version of that trip. And before I get started with that exciting news, let me once again mention a little about my career with NatHab and the trips I lead. So I've been leading NatHab expeditions since 2016, and I primarily lead our tiger trips here in India. And those include, of course, the Grand India Wildlife Adventure, India Tiger Safari, which is a more tiger-focused trip, and India Tiger Photo Expedition, which is a tiger photography trip. And I will also be leading the trip that I'm going to be talking about today, the Grand India Photo Expedition. So I'm personally very excited and also a little proud for this trip to come real, to actually materialize, because this is a trip that I've been thinking about and wanting for a long time. I've been leading the Grand India Wildlife Adventure, of course, throughout my NatHab career, and I've always felt that that trip had enormous potential as a photo-focused, as a photography expedition. And you know, we cover such a large variety of habitats in the tiger's realm on this trip and see so many different species and have such great viewing of all those species. I've always felt that, you know, while the trip in itself was an amazing trip, it could always be optimized a little more for serious photographers. And as a photo expedition leader, I pitched that to NatHab, and you know, here we are. I am delighted to bring to you the Grand India Photo Expedition. It is a trip that is based on the Grand India Wildlife Adventure, but it has been optimized and fine-tuned significantly, in fact, for the purpose of serious photographers. So on this trip, we cover 3 premier Indian national parks, which I'll be talking about soon: Bandhavgarh, Kanha, and Kaziranga National Parks and Tiger Reserves. It is going to be a 14-day expedition versus the 13-day Grand India Classic, if you call it that. This trip, we have decided, will operate between January and May to maximize our chances of wildlife viewing and to take the best advantage of seasonal changes in our photography. And this is a trip that will have 10 days on game drive, which is you know, a significantly large portion of the entire expedition length. So yeah, we've had enormous fun planning and drawing this trip and this itinerary, and I'm super excited to be able to talk to you about it today. But this trip is different from other typical photo expeditions. I mean, we have two photo expeditions in India that have been doing well and running for a pretty long time. We have the snow leopard expedition, and we also have the India tiger photo expedition. But both those trips are species focused. And, one focuses on getting great pictures of snow leopards, which we do. And the other focuses on getting great pictures of tigers, which is also what we do. The difference with the Grand India photo expedition is that it focuses not only on big cats like tigers, but also on getting great pictures of a variety of wildlife, of a large amount of diversity of wildlife, which is so true for India's tiger landscapes. We have such diverse areas in which tigers roam, and all of these different areas and different landscapes have their unique wildlife, their unique landscapes, and such a wide variety of species. So as far as a comprehensive Indian photo safari goes, where you get to watch and photograph the top Indian wildlife, be it mammals or birds, and where you get to visit a very wide variety of landscapes within a limited period of time. I mean, you can only travel so much in 2 weeks, and to encompass such a wide variety of subjects and landscapes and photo opportunities into a 2-week expedition is not an easy thing. And this trip brings you just that. It is the most comprehensive Indian wildlife photography safari. And as I mentioned, we visit 3 different landscapes in central India and northeastern India combined, and we see a variety of animals, from tigers to elephants to rhinos to possibly leopards, sloth bear, wild dog, etc. And of course, a very wide variety of birds. What makes this photo expedition different from the Grand India Wildlife Adventure and our other tiger expeditions, of course, is the fact that you get to see a lot more variety in the wildlife and the landscapes. And compared to the Grand India Wildlife Adventure, this trip actually adds an extra night at Kaziranga, which gives us the chance to explore more of that park and do more game drives than we usually do. And also on this particular itinerary, we have added more game drives to maximize our chances of viewing wildlife at each of the destinations. And not just that, we don't only do our regular morning and afternoon game drives. Typically on a safari expedition to India, that's how it is. You have morning game drives from sunrise till about 11, and then you have an afternoon game drive after lunch, which starts, say, from around 3 o'clock in the afternoon and goes on until sunset. And on each of these game drives, you're assigned a zone which you must stick to, and you cannot leave that zone, and you can't go to other parts of the park. So typically, that's how game drives are limited. But on this expedition, to give us far more quality in terms of photography opportunities, we have actually managed to secure special permits that allow us to be on full-day game drives. Besides doing the regular morning and afternoon game drives, we will also get the chance to be on a couple of full-day game drives at, one each at Bandhavgarh and Kanha National Parks. What the full-day game drives give us is that, first of all, you get to be in the park all day. You don't have to come back in the middle of the day. So you get to spend a good 3 or 4 hours extra in the park than other people do. You get to be in the park at a time when there are no other jeeps around. And also, you get to enter the park 15 minutes before everybody else does at sunrise. And then you can stay in longer 15 minutes later after the sun sets and all the other regular game drive jeeps leave. And 15 minutes might not sound like a lot, but those 15 minutes are very crucial 15 minutes that can make a fantastic difference. You see, when you go in before everybody else, 15 minutes before everybody else, at the crack of dawn, there's every chance that you might find tigers at the end of their night's prowl, still walking on the roads, and you might get to have a fantastic sighting at dawn in beautiful misty light before the other jeeps start coming in. And again, later in the day, in the evening, when all the others are leaving, you get those crucial extra 15 minutes at sunset, where a shy tiger, for example, might actually be waiting for the crowds to leave and then come out. So these, this total of half an hour extra, besides the 4 hours in the middle of the day that you get extra over the regular game drive timing, are actually a lot of quality time extra. So it makes a massive difference to your potential for viewing tigers, leopards, wild dogs, and other megafauna, as well as other wildlife. And the most exciting thing about the full day game drives, the cherry on the cake, is that you are not limited to any zone. You are actually zone free. You can go anywhere in the park, and depending on what information you gather from the other jeeps and the tracks and signs and guide chatter, you can actually skip zones and go from zone to zone and maximize your chances where tiger activity is the highest. So that makes an enormous difference, especially as far as photographers are concerned. And especially in the hot season, in the hot season, tigers like to spend the middle of the day in the water. They like to sit in the water, submerged until their necks, and then they go leave the water briefly and go lie in the shade. Then once they heat up again, they get up and come back into the water. And this is something that they keep doing through the day on hot summer days. And typically on our regular game drives, we leave at around 11, and that's usually when tigers are beginning to localize themselves around water, and they spend all day there. And by the time on a regular game drive, when you come back in the afternoon, it is usually time for the tigers to get up and start going about their evening's business. So being on a full day game drive in the hot season, in the dry season, also gives you the added advantage that when you find a tiger in the water, you can actually spend the entire day parked right there, getting beautiful pictures of that animal. And you could actually even check multiple water holes for different tigers. And, all of this just makes tremendous difference to our success as wildlife photographers. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, this particular itinerary is not focused on any one species, and it is not focused on any one destination. It actually gives us the chance to travel to multiple parks, watch different landscapes, and also it has a multi-species focus. So not only tigers, we also focus on elephant, we also focus on rhino, we also focus on other carnivores like wild dogs and leopards. And I'll be talking about the species that we focus and track on this trip later in today's webinar. Also, since I mentioned that we actually have added an extra night to this trip, we have added that extra night at Kaziranga. Kaziranga National Park and Tiger Reserve in the northeast of India is the home of the great one-horned rhinoceros, and it's a fascinating landscape, quite different from central India, where we shall be spending time in Bandhavgarh and Kanha. So we'll be seeing a very different region from central India, and very different species as well. But there are also tigers there, and there are lots of other creatures there which are not found in mainland India, because that part of India is closer to Southeast Asia. And spending an extra night there not only allows us to go on more game drives in Kaziranga and spend more time looking for things, but it also gives us the chance to visit a zone that we usually do not get to visit on our Grand India Wildlife Adventure. And that is the eastern zone of the park, which I personally like quite a bit, and where you get unique photography opportunities with species like otters, like hog badgers, and rare things that you usually do not see in the other zones of the park at a really close distance. Also, the eastern zone of Kaziranga is really good for tigers as well. And besides the wildlife, we will also get to do some cultural photography, especially at Delhi, and also when we spare time at Kanha one morning to visit a tribal village, and that will also add to our photographic aspirations from a trip like this. So we will get to do that as well. Also, what makes this trip different from the classic Grand India Wildlife Adventure, of course, as I mentioned, is that we will get more time focused to stay out there, to spend on getting good photo opportunities with wildlife. Also, this being a photo expedition, it'll be a small group expedition. There will be no more than 9 guests per trip. And we will not have more than 3 guests per jeep. And of course, speaking of jeeps, the jeeps that we shall be using are also going to be optimized for ease of photography. To give you a quick overview of the expedition map, this expedition, like all our India expeditions, begins and ends at Delhi. So we will start from Delhi. We will fly to a place called Jabalpur in the heart of India, from where we shall drive to our first national park, which is the Bandhavgarh National Park. We will spend 3 nights at Bandhavgarh, and then drive to Kanha National Park, where we shall spend 4 nights. The drive from Jabalpur to Bandhavgarh is about 3 hours. The drive from Bandhavgarh to Kanha is about 5 hours. From Kanha, we drive again to a city called Raipur, which is again a 4-hour drive. And from Raipur, we fly to Calcutta, now known as Kolkata, where we spend a night. It's basically a layover. We catch a flight the next morning again to fly to the northeast of India. We actually overfly Bangladesh to get there. That's how far it is from mainland India. We fly to a well-known tea plantation city called Jorhat. And from Jorhat, we shall be driving to Kaziranga. That's a 2.5-hour drive. We will spend 4 nights at Kaziranga. And from Kaziranga, we shall drive to a city called Guwahati, from where we shall fly all the way back to Delhi. And that is a very interesting flight because all along that flight, in clear weather, of course, right from the moment you start entering cruising altitude till finals at Delhi, you get to see the Himalaya on your right-hand side all along the way. So it's a pretty large amount of distance that we cover in these 14 days. We almost travel across a third of India. So it's pretty intense in that sense. And this trip packs a lot of opportunity into those 2 weeks. I'll go through the itinerary. to give you an idea of what it is like. On day 0, you arrive at Delhi. I mean, ideally, some people even prefer arriving 2 or 3 days before the trip actually begins, just so that they can settle in to the time zone difference. Because remember, the time difference between the US and India is about 12 hours. So it's a pretty bad jet lag. So on day 0, you will be resting and getting over your jet lag in this beautiful and iconic hotel in the heart of the diplomatic enclave of Delhi, a very nice cosmopolitan area. It's a very good hotel, the Taj Mahal Hotel. It's one of the iconic hotels of Delhi and of India. Very luxurious, very comfortable. A great place to come and rest as we begin our adventure. On day 1, you meet your expedition leader, and you go on a photo tour of Delhi. We explore beautiful old monuments in Old Delhi, like the Jama Masjid and Humayun's tomb. We also get to do some street photography through the narrow alleys and bylanes in Old Delhi. Old Delhi is a very interesting place. It's in a sort of time warp. You could best describe it as the 18th century, but with motor cars and cell phone coverage. So it's a very interesting area. It gives us a lot of very nice photographic opportunities. We will also tour parts of New Delhi, where you can see the modern capital of India and photograph the beautiful architecture and sites there. In the evening, we shall be the expedition leader shall be briefing you about the adventure that lies ahead. The next day, on day 2, is when you fly to Jabalpur. It's a morning flight. We try and land by lunchtime, and depending on whether it's winter or summer, the flight time can change. In winters, because of the amount of fog that we get in this country, morning flights are usually delayed. So in the winter, we take a slightly later flight into Jabalpur, but we have designed the itinerary in a way so as to be able to reach our first national park, the Bandhavgarh National Park and Tiger Reserve, in time for an afternoon game drive. So you go on your first game drive, get a feel of the Indian jungle, get a basic understanding of how tiger tracking is done, and get a taste of what game drive in India is like. On days 3 and 4, we do a full day game drive in Bandhavgarh National Park, besides 2 regular game drives, a morning and afternoon game drive. And Bandhavgarh is an excellent park for tiger viewing. It's got a pretty good density of tigers, and the vegetation in the park is quite sparse compared to some other tiger habitats, and that allows much easier viewing than most other places. And the tigers themselves are also fairly acclimated to safari vehicles, so they're not excessively shy. And you get some great photographic opportunities with tigers there, like this big male here on your screen. So that's what we do on days 3 and 4. We spend time in Bandhavgarh. We do game drives there, including a full day game drive. And then on day 5, we head to our next national park. From Bandhavgarh, we start driving through the heart of central India, through very, very beautiful countryside, stopping by at bazaars and the like to get you some more photo opportunities. And we spend about 5 hours on this drive from Bandhavgarh to Kanha National Park, and we arrive at Kanha typically in time for lunch. And then at our lodge, we check into our rooms and then get ready for an afternoon game drive after a short rest. And in the afternoon, we get a taste of Kanha and try our game driving there. Over the next 3 days, we continue going on game drives in Kanha, including a full day game drive, of course, and 4 regular game drives, morning and afternoon game drives. So that's 5 regular game drives and 1 full day game drive at Kanha. That's really, really good potential to see tigers and a lot of other wildlife that Kanha is well known for, including animals like the swamp deer or the Barasinga, which is whose last population on the planet is actually left at Kanha, and of course really good chances of finding wild dogs in this park. Also good chances of leopard and sloth bear, yeah, this time that we spend in Bandhavgarh and Kanha will be the period when we are going to try our luck the most for tigers. We should focus on tiger tracking the most while we are in these 2 national parks, because that's when our best chances for this big cat are. On day 9, which is a travel day, we spend the morning visiting a village of the Bega tribe. The Bega are an indigenous community that have been inhabiting central India for many thousand years, and they are what we call a particularly vulnerable tribal group. Their way of life is actually under the threat of extinction, and their language, their cultural practices, they're all dying out. So the Bega are considered the first people of central India, and their relationship with the wildlife and the natural habitat there, their relationship with the entire landscape is rather interesting and unique, and we get a chance to interact with some of our friends in that community, and also do some photography in their rather beautiful villages, and also of their very interesting and beautiful houses. After we do that, we are going to drive to Raipur and fly to Calcutta, where, as I mentioned, we are going to have a layover before our next flight to the northeast of India, to a state called Assam, and that is where we shall be heading to our next camp, which is the Kaziranga National Park and Tiger Reserve. Kaziranga is a rather unique habitat, very different from the central India tiger landscape. It's much more lush. It's much more, it's got a lot more water, and the entire national park actually sits in the floodplains of a massive river called the Brahmaputra. And it is a mosaic of swamps and grasslands and lakes and some evergreen forest. And this, of course, is the home of the maximum number of great one-horned rhinoceros. There are close to 3,000 of them in this one park alone now, and that's more than 75% of the global population of the species. Not just the rhinoceros, Kaziranga is also home to tigers, including, I must add, the very rare, golden tiger, which is a mutation that is seen in the wild only in this population, in the Kaziranga population. There's only one golden tiger that's been seen pretty frequently of late. But this tiger is unique in that from a distance, it appears as if it does not have any stripes. But if you go closer, you will see that it does have stripes, but they're very faint and they're brown instead of black. So that particular tiger actually has a lack of melanin, which causes this appearance. And this mutation, although it's been seen in captive tigers in zoos in different parts of the world, it's only been seen in the wild here at Kaziranga. But I'm digressing. But I must tease you with the fact that there is actually a chance to see that tiger, because it's been sighted pretty regularly, including on one of our Grand India Wildlife Adventures that took place very recently. I wasn't guiding that particular trip. A friend of mine was, but they did have a good sighting of the golden tiger on that trip. Yeah, but coming back to Kaziranga, Kaziranga is the home of rhino, elephant, wild buffalo, and a variety of other wildlife, large and small, and a very, very high number of species of birds. Close to 450 species of birds can be sighted here, which is a pretty good number for any one local area. And Kaziranga is often referred to as the Gorongoro crater of Asia because of the extremely high density and extremely high variety of megafauna that exist in this park. You know, in most other areas, you are tracking and finding and searching for wildlife. In a place like Kaziranga, you just have to drive up to a nice spot, turn off the engine, and look around, and there will be wildlife all around. So that's the kind of place that Kaziranga is. And of course, it is a photographer's delight, and that's why we chose to add the extra night here. Days 11 through 13 will be spent at Kaziranga on photographic game drives, and it's an absolute treat all the time to be at Kaziranga as a photographer. It's just such a rewarding park for photographers. So on day 14 at Kaziranga, we will have the end of the main trip. The main expedition ends there. We drive from Kaziranga to a city called Guwahati, which is the capital of Assam. And from there, we will fly back to Delhi. And that will end the main Grand India photo expedition. Some of you might then choose to go on the extension trip to Agra, where you will see not only this famous white building, the Taj Mahal, but also the Agra Fort and other areas of architectural and historic interest, which also make for excellent photographic subjects. So that will be days 15 and 16, should you choose to go on the extension. And that is the end of the itinerary. On this trip, we shall be staying at some really nice accommodations and camps that we have been using for a very long time, and therefore we can swear by. At Bandhavgarh, we stay at this very nice lodge called King's Lodge, which is set right next to the core area of the park. The lodge itself is actually in the buffer area of the park, but it adjoins zone 3 of the park, and it is not unusual for tigers and leopards to actually walk through camp. Like all the lodges we stay at, King's Lodge have actually limited their built-up area to a very tiny corner of the property, and they have allowed the rest of the property to remain unfenced and to actually add to the acreage of the park, which is why it's such a wildlife-friendly property, and animals absolutely oblige by visiting the property while we, are tucked in bed in our lodges. At Kanha, there is this very opulent, beautiful, tasteful property called Singinawa Jungle Lodge, which also in the tradition of all the properties that we stay at, and indeed in the tradition of all good safari camps and lodges, they have also limited their built-up area to a very small portion of the property, and it is very common to be sitting outside your cottage on the deck in the evenings or even in the middle of the day and have deer and wild boar walk by. And at night, alarm calls are quite common because leopards and tigers do prowl through the property. Only on my last trip, which I finished on the 18th of January, we heard from the camp staff that as they had gone out to clear a campfire dinner one of the nights, they were actually greeted by a leopard that was seated there. So yeah, Singinawa is also a beautiful property. It is located right next to the buffer zone of Kanha National Park, and there's lots of wildlife activity around. At Calcutta, I keep saying Calcutta because I come from a generation that grew up calling it that, but it's called Kolkata now. At Kolkata, as I mentioned, we are only there for a layover, and therefore it helps to have the Taj New Town hotel, which is just a 15-minute drive from the airport, and a very convenient, comfortable place to spend the night at. It's a very good hotel, and we really do trust these Taj properties, not only at Delhi but also at Calcutta and in other places, because they're just such wonderful hotels, so luxurious, so reliable, such fantastic food and fantastic service. So that's where we stay at Calcutta. And then when we are at Kaziranga, we stay in this very beautiful, it's a very rustic looking property, but it's very comfortable, very luxurious, very beautiful. And the Diflu River Lodge, which is named after a river it is located by, is it constantly gets top marks from our guests. Lots of good reviews, really nice food, and really good service. The Diflu River Lodge is only separated from the Kaziranga National Park by this very narrow river that it is named after. And often, when you're sitting at the bar and in the evening, you can actually hear rhinos across the water, not very far from camp. And on your way out, on your way back home, this very beautiful, very comfortable hotel, just a 10-minute drive from the Delhi airport, in an area called AeroCity, is going to be where you have your day rooms. This is where you can rest and recuperate for your flight home after you finish this 2-week safari across India. Rosette House is a very nice hotel that we've started using this season, and all the reviews, all the feedback are all very positive. And for those of you who go to Agra, you will stay at a hotel called the Taj View, from where you can actually get a direct view of the Taj Mahal from some of the rooms. And if you go up to the rooftop, it's a very short distance from the major monuments of Agra, including the Taj Mahal, and it's a very convenient hotel for the purpose of our visit to this city. The key species that we will be targeting on this trip as our primary photographic subjects would, of course, be the tiger, because in all these 3 parks that we visit, you have really good tiger populations. But as I mentioned earlier, our main focus on tigers will be while we are in central India, in Bandhavgarh and Kanha National Parks, because those parks offer the best viewing opportunities and the best photography opportunities. And of course, those are going to be the 2 parks where we shall have our full day game drives. There are good chances of seeing and photographing leopards. Of course, you don't always see them, because in areas that are dense with tigers, like all these 3 parks are, leopards try and keep a very low profile. But given the amount of time we are going to spend in these parks, and our chances of finding leopards are not bad. I would not say they're very high, because leopards in tiger country or lion country, as it is, are shy to begin with. But the more time you spend, the better your chances get. And this itinerary has been designed to do just that, to maximize time. And we shall also have good chances of seeing sloth bear. Sloth bear is about the size of the American black bear, and it is a creature that it's always a treat to get good photo opportunities of this beautiful animal. You don't always get that So as with the leopard, the amount of time that we spend at Bandhavgarh and Kanha is really going to improve our chances of finding and photographing this rather wonderful and delightful creature. Among canids, we will have good chances of seeing jackals. They're quite common and fairly photogenic. They're quite cooperative on most occasions and will allow you to get good pictures of them. They really make nice subjects. But the canid that we shall all be looking for, and which is not so easy to find, is the Asiatic or Indian wild dog, also called the dhole, D-H-O-L-E. While we do see them in Bandhavgarh, our best chances of finding dhole lie in Kanha, where we still have large packs, breeding packs. You see, the dhole or the Indian wild dog is actually far more endangered than tigers or leopards. Their numbers are estimated to be under 1,500 animals, and there aren't very many places anymore where you find thriving wild dog populations with large pack sizes. But Kanha happens to be one of those places where wild dogs are still thriving and doing well, and pack sizes are quite nice. And chances of finding them in Kanha are fairly good. So this is definitely going to be one of the key species that we will be looking for there. And of course, we will be looking for the mega herbivores, not just the carnivores. We will be looking for Asiatic elephant, of which we have good chances of seeing at Bandhavgarh as well as Kaziranga. We will be seeing the great one-horned rhinoceros. As this rhino couple tell you, it's really hard work saving endangered species. This is a picture I took on my last trip, which ended on the 18th at Kaziranga. Kaziranga has a good population of rhinos and very nice viewing, so you will get some great photo opportunities of the species there. But besides the rhino, we will also be seeing the Asiatic wild buffalo, which also has depleted from the vast majority of its historical range, but continues to thrive at Kaziranga. The Asiatic wild buffalo actually has the largest span of horn among any wild bovine, and we will get some really good photo opportunities of this species at Kaziranga. And we will also be looking for the world's largest wild bovine, the gaur, G-A-U-R. The gaur is often wrongly referred to as the Indian bison. The gaur is the largest among wild cattle, and the big bull can sometimes grow as heavy as 1.5 tons. We will have good chances of seeing them in Bandhavgarh and Kanha. We will also be looking for photo opportunities of the prominent deer and antelope species of India, which include the spotted deer, the sambar deer, the swamp deer. In fact, 2 different subspecies of swamp deer, one at Kanha and one in Kaziranga. The hog deer, which you will see at Kaziranga, and antelopes like the blue bull or nilgai and the black buck, which you see at the lower right corner of your screen. And of course, there will be primates. We will see 2 species of monkeys in central India, the rhesus macaque, which is not on this slide, and the grey langur, which is rather common in the national parks there. But the primate on this trip that always gets me most excited is the western hoolock gibbon. Hoolock gibbons are the only apes that are found in India, and we only find them on this trip. The only place that we could expect to see gibbons are at Kaziranga, because gibbons are typically a Southeast Asian species. They're not a South Asian or mainland Indian species. They're Southeast Asian species, and the beauty of Kaziranga is that it's at the fringes of the region where South Asia transitions into Southeast Asia. So for a lot of species, Kaziranga is for a lot of South Asian species, Kaziranga is the easternmost limit of their range, and for a lot of Southeast Asian species, Kaziranga is the westernmost limit of their range. So you get this hyper diversity there, and that is among the westernmost areas where you find gibbons. So we will be definitely looking to watch and photograph gibbons while we are there. And we shall also be finding other primates that are not found in mainland India, such as the capped langur, which you see on the right-hand side of your screen. And of course, I had mentioned birds. This trip really offers some fantastic opportunities to indulge in some high quality bird photography. All kinds of interesting birds, from finches and parakeets to hornbills, raptors, storks, waterfowl, all kinds of things. And of course, you will also get to do some really stunning landscape photography. I've been harping upon how diverse this trip is and how it takes you to so many different landscapes. So you will not only get to take some great images of different landscapes, but also my favorite form of landscape photography, which is to have an animal in its habitat in that photograph. So I love taking pictures of species in their natural habitats, so animal in landscape kind of wildlife photography, which I personally think is more appealing than just plain old close portrait. So taking pictures of elephants, a herd of elephants being dwarfed by the Kaziranga landscape, or a tiger walking on a frosty meadow in Kanha on a January morning. Things like that, you get great opportunities to do on this trip. And of course, I mentioned that the trip operates from, or will operate from January through May, which gives us an absolute, a very wide range of seasons when you can actually go on this trip. So when you go in January and February, it is still winter. The temperatures are freezing. The mornings are beautifully misty, and the light is absolutely stunning. Beautiful, gentle winter light, which allows for amazing pictures. Also in the winter, tigers are in their thick winter coat, which makes them look far better, in my opinion, than how they look in the summer. Tigers are more likely to be indulging in mating activity and more likely to be vocalizing. But tigers at this time of the year are usually not stationary. They're not localized to any one area. They're usually on the move, which means that which means that sightings could potentially be brief, because the cat is on the move and it's got a job to do. It's got to find a mate. It's got to mark its territory and keep out competitors. So, your sightings will be high quality, but in terms of length of time, they might be short. In winters also is the best time to get bird photography, because that's when we get a lot of Palearctic migrants coming into this part of the country. So the number of birds and species of birds that you see is much higher in winter than it is in summer. As you enter spring and summer in March, tiger sightings become easier and longer, because they start localizing around water, and the vegetation also starts getting sparser. In March is another favorite time of mine. You start seeing spring colors. The trees come into new leaf, and a lot of the trees start flowering in the jungle. So the landscape looks absolutely stunning. Wildlife activity around fruiting trees is also a great draw at that time of the year, to get pictures of birds and animals around, say, the stunning red flowers of a silk cotton or flame of the forest tree is quite nice. But of course, you will start losing the winter migrant birds at that time of the year. Spring and summer are also when you are likely to see tigresses moving with new cubs. If you want pictures of younger cubs, that is usually a good time. So those are the seasons. Very briefly, I mean, you might typically, if as a photographer, if you want to document this entire change of seasons, you would actually probably want to come 3 times on this trip, once in winter, once in spring, and once in summer, to actually get a proper sort of coverage of the plethora of things that happen through the seasons, and the parks in their different versions and different states through the seasons. So if you ask me what the best season for this trip is, then my answer will be that it depends on what you're looking for. As I said, winter, spring, and summer each have their own advantages and some disadvantages. So depending on what you are seeking as a photographer, you will have to take a call on what time of the year you want to come here. And of course, your trip is going to be led by one of our phenomenal photo expedition leaders. And our photo expedition leaders are accomplished photographers themselves. They are really good. They've been handpicked for their ability to actually coach people. And they're also fantastic naturalists. And they all have a great grasp on subjects such as conservation. And as with all our photo expeditions, on the Grand India Photo Expedition, the trip is designed for serious or aspiring, passionate photographers. Let me not use terms like serious or not. If you're a passionate photographer, this trip is for you. If you want to improve your photography, if you're serious about improving your photography, if you want to grow as a photographer, this trip is for you. The advantage of our photo expeditions is that the groups, of course, are smaller. The trips are meant for photographers, so you will be in a like-minded group with other photographers. And of course, it will be led by an accomplished photographer. The itineraries, as I described earlier, are designed to ensure that you go farther afield and spend more time out there, maximizing your photo opportunities. Everything, even during the game drives, our game drives are then tuned to maximizing your opportunities to get good angles, good viewing positions, good light, and to get you ample time at a sighting. We do have a lot of classroom sessions as well. Of course, while we are out together in the field, you will be learning on the job, you will be learning field techniques and how best to use your camera, how to get the best out of your camera, and how to get the best out of yourself as a photographer. Your photo expedition leader will be guiding you on all of that. But also back at camp, we have indoor classroom sessions where we shall go over subjects like post-processing and photo reviews and tips and tricks on how to improve what we are shooting that day. So we will all work together to improve ourselves as photographers and to try and get the photos that we dreamt of from these trips. So yeah, with that, I would like to end today's presentation, and I'm open to any questions that you might have for me. And on your screen are links to look up these trips and to book them. This particular trip, the Grand India Photo Expedition, will start, it'll launch in January of 2027. And on the 12th of February, we actually have an e-news scheduled with details of this trip, so please don't miss that. So yeah, thank you everyone. Rob, over to you for any questions that we might have.
Thank you, Aditya. All right, so before we dive into the questions, I would like to remind everyone that if you do have questions, please submit them via the question field in your control panel. Uh, Click on the three lines in the upper right-hand corner. That will open up the fields, and then you'll see questions. And so go ahead and put them in there. So let's talk about time of year. So there are no trips between June and December. So could you tell us why that is?
Yeah, that's because, Rob, from June, India starts to come under the spell of the monsoon. The monsoon season goes on till October. So from June through October, the parks are usually shut because it's pouring and the roads become inaccessible, and it's just not a great time to be out there trying to get photographs because the vegetation, excuse me, the vegetation is also extremely thick. And then as the monsoons recede in October, November and December are the time the parks take to sort of dry out in a sense. In that, in November and December, the vegetation is still thick and there is still plenty of water everywhere. So wildlife viewing only starts improving really from the end of December and January onwards. So to maximize this trip as a photographic expedition and to try and get our guests as many sightings as possible and as many photo opportunities as possible, we decided that January through May is going to be the best time.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. So, could you talk about what the average temperature would be on the trip in Fahrenheit, if you can do the math for us?
I'll pull my phone out and do the math. um, so you see, um, in January and February, the temperature at night can go to freezing or below. So say about 30 Fahrenheit. That's the lowest it can go. And in the days, it is quite warm, but pleasantly warm in January and February. Usually, when you go out in the morning, you need to be layered up in 3 or 4 layers because 30 Fahrenheit might not sound like a lot to you all. It might not sound like very cold, but it's not very cold if you're indoors in a heated house. If you're out in an open Jeep at the crack of dawn doing 30, 40 kilometers an hour, there's a lot of wind chill and that freezes you to the bone. So it's going to be freezing cold in January in the mornings, in January and February in the mornings and late afternoons. In the middle of the day, it's going to be quite pleasant. You can always layer down, and it's going to be about. Let me do some calculation. Say the maximum temperature in the day is usually around 80, 27 Fahrenheit. 27 Celsius. And as soon as you are in the shade, it gets cold really quickly again. And in the summer, say from end of March through April and May, the mornings start to become a lot more pleasant. You don't really have to layer up. But the middle of the day can get really hot. And, it can, temperatures can touch 100 Fahrenheit or even exceed 100 Fahrenheit in April and May, in the middle of the day especially. But that is what gets the tigers to the water. So that's exactly what we want. And in Kanha and Bandhavgarh, the air is fairly dry. These are fairly high altitude areas. I mean, relatively speaking, they're high altitude areas. They're called the highlands, the central India highlands. But in Kaziranga, it's going to be humid. So in Kaziranga, you might have, 80, 85%, 90% humidity even later in the season. So yeah, that gives you, I think, a decent picture of the climate.
Thank you so much for detailing that for us. That really helps. Is there certain kinds of dress codes within the cities that we should be thinking about adhering to?
No, no, you don't have to. You can wear whatever you want. It's only when we visit the mosque at Delhi, the Jama Masjid, only on that one occasion that women are required to put on a robe, which is handed to you at the entrance, and then you can leave it back there while you exit. And men are required to have trousers, not shorts. But besides that one monument, nowhere else does dress code matter. Of course, while you're on safari, you might want to dress in muted colors, such as khakis and greens, but that's dress code on safari anyway.
Gotcha. Good to know. Thank you. So how much time do we get to spend in each of the parks?
Oh, so at Bandhavgarh we spend 3 nights. We do we do 3 regular game drives and 1 full-day game drive over a 3-night stay. At Kanha, we do 4 nights and do 5 regular game drives and 1 full-day game drive. And at Kaziranga, we also stay 4 nights and we do 1, 2, 3, 4. We do 6 game drives there.
Wow, great. Thank you for that. So on these days that we're spending all day in the parks, will there be bathrooms available?
Oh yes, oh yes. The parks do have bathrooms, and when we are on these full-day game drives, we will carry picnic breakfast and picnic lunch with us. So it's going to be fun that way too. And there are places where we can stop and rest and be in the shade and take a toilet break or a meal break. The bathrooms in the parks at Kanha, they're pretty decent bathrooms, but at Bandhavgarh, they're typically what you would politely call a bush toilet.
Gotcha. So if I'm a beginner photographer, would I be a hindrance on this trip?
No, you wouldn't. I mean, you never stop learning in photography. And if you're serious about your photography, if you want to make yourself a better photographer, your skill level does not matter, and the size of your lens does not matter. All of us on these trips are here to become better photographers. So regardless of skill level and regardless of the quality of your equipment, we are here to maximize our opportunities, and we are here to grow as photographers. So you're absolutely welcome.
Excellent. Good. Let me ask you this. I know some of these trips we do have some weight limits. With the photography trips, are they the same for our equipment? And what do you recommend as paring down our lenses? What kind of lens should we bring?
Well, the airlines do make life difficult for photographers, increasingly so these days, and we are fully aware of that. So we do try and buy additional weight limit on the internal flights on this trip. But on a typical trip like this, I would be carrying 2 camera bodies, one with a short telephoto lens and one with a longer telephoto lens for birds and faraway subjects, but a short telephoto lens for sure for things like tigers at close distance and large mammals like elephants. I would have something like a 70 to 200 millimeter lens for that. And for farther subjects, I would try to get a 400 or 500 or 600 or, the longest lens I can comfortably carry. I would also have a wide angle lens, a wide angle zoom lens typically for landscape pictures, and maybe one medium telephoto lens. Maybe one medium focal length lens, something like a 50 millimeter or maybe a 24 to 70 millimeter lens for portraits of people and for street photography and things like that. So on the one hand, while I will ask you to carry two camera bodies ideally. I would still say that fine tune your choice of lenses so that you carry enough, but you don't carry more than you need to make your life easier at the airports.
Great. Aditya, thank you for that advice. Unfortunately, that is going to be the last question that we do have time for today. So I'd like to hand it back to you for some closing comments.
Thank you so much, Rob, and thank you so much to our wonderful audience. I hope you're all as excited about this trip as I am, and I really look forward to leading you on these starting January 2027. Thank you.
Aditya, thank you for taking the time to introduce us to this amazing sounding trip. And I'd also like to thank everyone who tuned in and joined us today. So if you are interested in information on how you could travel with NatHab, please give us a call at 800-543-8917, or you can send us an email at info@nathab.com. Our adventure specialists are happy to help you out. If you're part of a photo club and would like NatHab to speak to your members about nature and travel photography, email us at webinars@nathab.com. Join us tomorrow for our next daily dose of nature. You can check out this week's lineup, including registration links, on our website at nathab.com/webinars. We did record today's presentation, and we will have the replay available on our website soon. With that, I will conclude today's webinar. So long, everybody. We'll see you next time.